Hi there, Terry back again. Hope I find you well. Welcome to the channel and welcome to another episode of Resident Alien. A fair few of you asked for more, so here's some more. Volume 2, The Suicide Blonde, ran from number 0 to 3. It was published between August and November 2013. And it opens just a day after the last volume. Esther and her daughter are on the horseback riding through a small forest, where they have located Harry in a bed in the open air. Esther's father tells her Harry must not know she knows about it. It may scare him, and he points to glints on the horizon. Someone watches, someone waits. They cannot see him, but if he should run, they will follow. So she has to persuade him to stay in patience. Next, we go back 3 years, where the boss of this FBI unit has decided to close the case. One of his agents suggests an ET hypothesis. He shoots this idea down, believing the wreckage to be of foreign rather than extraterrestrial origin. But another agent arrives with information about the ATM that Harry used to get some money. The camera on the ATM shows a photo of Harry, as we see him. The boss then changes his attitude. Harry is still in bed, but in the surgery now, being ministered to by Ellen, another nurse. Asta arrives, warning him he needs to stay in bed for at least a week. Harry protests, but she agrees to bring him in a television and some DVDs. He asks what happened last night. She explains she gave him a local anaesthetic and then took the bullet from his leg. She hands him the slug for a souvenir. He also asked what she meant when she said he was not like her. She fobs him off with a story about doctors not being keen on being patients. She also explains she would like him to stay as the doctor of patients, as he was well liked by the community. And as she is saying this, Ellen brings in some lunch for Harry and is followed in by a young man, stating his name is Ethan, and he's the new doctor. We go back 2 years and 11 months, and the agents have decided that the photo of the alien was a prank by another agency. They decide to let people think they are buying the ET angle, but then investigate what they think is a prank by following the money. Then we go back 2 years and 10 months. Harry is in auto dealers. He buys a clapped out truck, not knowing it's clapped out. He's barely a couple of miles up the road when it claps out. But he has a handy dandy device, a bit like the doctor's screwdriver. I added that bit, sorry. Anyway, it gets working as good as new. That's the truck. Next we see a very pissed off Asta, complaining about the new doctor who's doing much the same to all of the patients, as in being them off. Harry says he will go see Bert, the mayor. He meets him at the diner. Bert asks how the new boy is doing. Harry explains that's just it. He is a boy. Half the time he is too arrogant, which upsets the nurses, and the other half is too hesitant, which makes the patients nervous. Bert says he can't get rid of him for 3 months. He's contractually obligated, so Harry agrees to oversee for that time, and then stay on for at least a year as the town doctor. The mayor couldn't be happier and agrees to the cable TV Harry wants installed. The mayor is glad the murders hadn't put him off staying in the little town. And as he is saying this, the sheriff and one of his deputies walk in and asked if Harry could look at a body for them. Right, we have number 1 now. The issue opens at a motel room. Harry, Mike, and the police sergeant, and Brad, one of his deputies, surround a dishevelled bed. Much like the rest of the room, on the bed lays a dead young woman. Mike picks up a note, written on it, "Sometimes I don't like myself." Brad exclaims, "Damn it." Mike tells him to grab some lunch. Brad says he's fine. He isn't, though. Mike wouldn't have brought him if he had known it was a suicide. Brad's sister had killed herself a few years back. The girl's name was Shannon Riley. She was from Seattle. She's about 200 miles from Patience. They learned this while they were going through her things. There was a bottle of champagne on the bedside cabinet, possibly laced with arsenic, as there was no discernible smell. Harry wondered why the suicide note wasn't written on hotel stationery, rather than a ripped piece of paper from a notebook. Where was that? And where's the pen? Bert comes back in the room with a bag dripping in dumpster fluids. Inside is a glass matching the one in the room, plus an envelope with white powder in it. The sergeant tells Bert to remain until forensics and the coroner arrive. Harry asked him to ask them if she was pregnant. He already knows she was. Harry tags along with the sergeant to find what Shannon has been doing the night previous. Seems she ate in the motel's cafe and had a laugh with a couple of truckers, who she let down politely. Then it turns out that Bert the mayor arrived, who knew her. They had coffee and then left together. They visit the mayor. When he's told who is dead, he is shocked and asked how. They say they think it was a murder, dressed up like a suicide. Bert met her the year previous in Seattle in a hotel bar. He was at a conference. Two lonely people, and they just clicked. He saw her once a month for about 4 months, and then it stopped. He thought she had found someone more her own age. He said out of the blue last night he had a phone call from her. She was in trouble and needed some money. He met her that night in town, gave her $500, and then they parted ways. She was pregnant. She needed the money to go away a few days and think. The baby wasn't Bert's, but it looked like Bert would need an attorney. Harry already knowing he was innocent. Harry plans on going to Seattle to see if he can find anything to help Bert. Asta says she needs to go with him because of his leg and he won't be able to drive. He protests, but he gets nowhere. 2 years and 10 months ago, we visit our ET watchers who have found 7 notes that have been used that came from an ATM Harry used. Thing is, the last 2 used have the same serial number. One could be real, one is a forgery, or they both could be forgeries. They cannot tell. They have been following the trail through the northwest of America. They then get another agent visiting with confirmed proof that the photo of Harry is real. So now they don't know if they are looking for a disfigured human or an alien. The issue finishes with Harry and Asta in Harry's truck, heading to Seattle. Asta asking Harry what they do when they get there. Find a killer, he says. Number 2 opens with them still in the truck, just arriving in Seattle. It's dark and pouring with rain. They head for a hotel. In between, Harry has been remembering his beginnings on Earth, learning a language through books beginning with the ABCs, through to highbrow books such as Grey's Anatomy, and then back to sci-fi and thrillers, which he enjoys the most. They get 2 rooms and plan to start searching for people in the morning. Mike had said Shannon had a roommate, so they would start with her. The next morning they arrive at Shannon's flat. Her flatmate, Karen Janison, thinks they are journalists firstly, and Harry explains they are not, and why they are here. She asks them to ask their questions. Seems Shannon had plenty of men friends, but didn't talk about them. Several things she had said, Harry felt, were lies, but he didn't understand why. Was she protecting somebody? They then go off to the university that Shannon studied at, and they wait outside a lecture room, which Harry has found out a list on the board is one that Shannon would have gone to. Harry's plan is to look for people who are visibly upset and nervous, distracted or bruised. Asta says not much of a plan. Harry states it's all a cut. When the students leave the room, too many in particular fit the descriptions they're looking for. Harry follows one, Asta follows the other. Asta's is more tricky, as then he notices her following him and starts running. Asta manages to catch up and trip him. It turns out he owes money to a casino and he thought she was an enforcer. She lets him believe so she can get him talking. Harry's job was much easier. The guy he followed was happy to talk over a cup of coffee. He had been Shannon's boyfriend for a couple of months. He thought they were getting serious, but she didn't. He followed her to a hotel and saw her with Bert the mayor. Not that he knew who he was there. He didn't interrupt them, but wanted to. When he did speak to her on the phone, she said it was none of his business. He felt she had acted somewhat like a hooker, so he walked away. He had been crying and been upset ever since he heard she was dead. Harry thanked Jake, and Jake wished him luck catching the killer. Asta joined Harry with the other guy, whose name was Doug, but he was only willing to talk for $50. Turned out he was dating her more for the sex than the girlfriend-boyfriend thing. He had joined her with another girl. She was into that, he said. Did you use protection, Harry asked. No, he said. Don't like that. He hadn't heard from her since anyway. Harry paid him. It's a drag she's dead, he said, but life goes on, right? What a jerk, Asta says, as he was leaving. Harry wanted to talk to Karen, yet Janet. There was no answer at her door. Harry used that little gizmo he had used for the truck to open the door, out of sight of Asta. Karen's bags were still in the hallway, taking a trip, it seemed. But no sign of her until they entered the bathroom. Phone 911, Asta, Harry said as he reached for a towel to stem the blood on Karen's wrist as she lay in a bath, unconscious. Number 3 opens 2 days later in the hospital reception. Harry asking how his patient is. Stable, says the nurse, and as hungry as a horse, and asking for him. Karen thanks Harry for saving her life. Why did you do it? Harry asks. So she starts the story. Her and Shannon were roommates for nearly 2 years, and that's all they were, even though Karen had been falling for her from day one. Shannon dragged home anything in trousers. Drunk out of her mind, it was like watching a car crash in slow motion. Then Karen found out why she was like it. She had been abused by her father, Harry says. Karen asked how he knew. Educated guess, he replies. One night she just wanted someone to hold, and that was all it was. But Karen had wanted more. That night, though, saw a change in Shannon. For a few months she stopped drinking and going out, and it seemed they were enjoying each other's company. Harry wondered how she had got pregnant, if she had stopped seeing men. She said that's when Doug entered the story. Shannon wanted a baby, and she got pregnant first time. But it looked like she went off the idea and packed a bag and left. Karen followed her to a coach station. She got on a Greyhound going to Patience. Karen followed on the next coach. Karen saw her outside a motel with Bert. Again, not that she knew who that was. He was handing over some money to Shannon. Karen followed her to her room and they had a blazing row. Sharon took some capsules from her bag and dropped them in the champagne glass. Champagne Bert had given her. The arsenic took effect and she died. Harry said you tried to make it look more like a suicide, but instead it made it more like a murder. That's why I tried to kill myself, Harry, she said. All are going to think me guilty. Asta meets Harry in a park as they are preparing to go home. This photographer on the cover is taking plenty of photos of everyone around. Asta asked Harry what will happen to Karen. She will need a good attorney. I believe she's innocent, but whether anyone else will is hard to tell. They get back to Patience, where Steve the sergeant tears a strip off of Harry for messing in police business. Harry exclaims he was only doing it for Bert's sake. He also doesn't think a jury will be sympathetic to Karen. Harry visits Bert. Bert thanks him. He has had to resign as mayor. Now all the news was out. He still has his law business to fall back on, but with all the bad press, who knows what will happen there. The issue ends back with the photographer, downloading all his photographs. He comes across a very interesting one with a man and a woman. That looks like no man he has ever seen. The photo is posted and goes viral. We finish with our men in black seeing the said photo. Well, hope you enjoyed that, and let me know in the comments. If you'd like to give us a thumbs up, that'd be great. I'm planning on doing a Daredevil Yellow 6-issue series next time, and then maybe another, or go back to Resident Alien. Let me know in the comments what you would like. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.